On the distant planet Leora, the sky always shined in soft colors. The trees had blue leaves, and the rivers glowed with gentle light. It was a peaceful world, ruled by a kind and wise royal family. At the center of it all lived Princess Alari, the only daughter of the High Council. She was known for her grace and calm nature. But now, her bright eyes looked tired, and her face had lost its color. Princess Alari had not eaten properly for many weeks. Her body refused to accept the usual food of her people. Every meal made her weaker instead of stronger. The royal doctors were worried. They had tried every method, but nothing worked. Even food from nearby planets did not help. The High Council called experts from other systems, but the condition of the princess only became worse. Inside her large room made of crystal walls, Alari sat quietly near the window. Her long silver dress rested softly around her. Her hands were thin, and her strength was fading. She watched the garden below where soft birds flew between shining flowers. She wanted to walk again in that garden, but her legs were too weak. Now, her mother, Queen Elia, entered the room with slow steps. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of worry. She sat beside her daughter and held her hand. "Your health matters more than anything," the queen said softly. "We will find a way, I promise." Alari nodded but said nothing. She had heard the same promise many times. She did not want to lose hope, but each day made it harder. That same day, a message came from Earth. The humans had heard about the princess's illness. They had a team of food scientists who studied many kinds of diets and healing through natural meals. One of them, a man named Ben, was known for creating meals that helped sick patients recover. The council quickly agreed to receive him. A transport ship arrived on Leora the next morning. It was small but clean and quiet. Out of it stepped Ben, a man in his early 30s. He had short black hair, simple clothes, and calm eyes. He did not look special, but he walked with quiet purpose. A Leoran officer greeted him and guided him to the palace. As Ben looked around, he saw buildings made of crystal and gardens filled with lights. He had never seen a world so peaceful. Inside the palace, he was brought before the High Council. Queen Elia stood beside the princess. Alari sat in her chair, too weak to stand. Her eyes were on Ben, curious but unsure. Ben gave a respectful bow. "Thank you for inviting me," he said. "I will do my best to help." Queen Elia looked at him kindly. "Our daughter is precious to us. We do not know if your methods will work, but we are willing to try." Ben nodded. "I understand. I will begin today. I only ask for a small kitchen, basic tools, and a list of ingredients that do not harm your people. You shall have all you need," said the queen. Ben was given a quiet room near the princess's quarters and a small kitchen. He studied the reports of Alari's health, her blood data, and the reaction she had to different foods. He also examined the safe ingredients from Earth that could be accepted by the Leoran body. That evening, he made a simple meal. He cooked soft rice with a little vegetable curry made with safe Earth spices. The smell was warm and calming. It was not strong, just enough to wake the senses gently. He placed it in a small silver bowl and brought it to the princess himself. Alari looked at the bowl without speaking. Ben smiled and said, "This is something light. Many people on Earth eat this when they feel unwell. I believe your body may accept it." She took the spoon slowly. Her hand shook a little, but she brought the food to her mouth. She closed her eyes as she tasted it. There was silence in the room. Then something changed. A small light returned to her face. Her body did not react badly. Her breath was calm. She took a second bite, then a third. It was the first time in many days that she finished her food. Ben watched quietly. He did not speak. He only smiled once and nodded. Queen Elia stepped forward. "This is a good sign," she said, her voice soft with hope. Alari looked at Ben. Her voice was weak but clear. "Thank you," she said. Ben bowed his head slightly. "I will prepare another dish tomorrow. We will go slowly, one step at a time." That night, the palace was filled with a new feeling. The doctors spoke in low voices. Surprised by the change, the queen walked with a lighter step, and in her quiet room, Princess Alari slept peacefully for the first time in many weeks. Ben wrote notes in his small journal. He wrote about the ingredients, the timing, and the body's reaction. But he also wrote about something else. He had seen the sadness in the princess's eyes slowly begin to fade. He had seen a quiet strength hidden in her silence. The stars above Leora shone gently in the sky, and on this peaceful night, hope had returned to the palace, carried by a warm bowl of food and a simple human heart. The next morning on Leora began with soft light rising over the crystal towers. Birds with golden wings flew over the palace walls, singing peaceful songs. Inside the kitchen near the royal quarters, Ben was already at work. He had slept only a few hours, but he felt fresh and ready. His heart was calm, but his mind was sharp. He knew the first meal had helped the princess, but it was only the beginning. He stood at the cooking table with simple tools. The Leoran staff had brought him a set of ingredients from both Earth and Leora. He sorted through them carefully. Some fruits from Leora looked like round stars, and some Earth vegetables had been grown in space farms. He chose soft sweet potatoes, small green herbs, and a light broth made from fruit seeds. Ben slowly boiled the broth and mashed the potatoes. He added just enough herbs to give a gentle smell. He wanted something warm and smooth, something the princess could eat without trouble. When the dish was ready, he placed it in a deep white bowl. Then he walked toward the princess's chamber. Princess Alari sat near the window again. She wore a new light blue robe. Her face looked a little brighter. Her hands were still thin, but there was a calm light in her eyes. She turned as Ben entered. "You are early," she said in a soft voice. "I wanted to bring your meal while the broth is still warm," Ben replied with a small smile. He placed the bowl on the table near her. A royal helper gently lifted it. Toward her, she took the spoon in her hand. This time, her hands did not shake as much. She tasted the soft mixture and closed her eyes for a moment. Ben watched quietly. He was careful not to speak while she tasted it. After a few slow bites, she opened her eyes and looked at him. "This is new," she said. "It is something from my side of the stars," Ben replied. "It is soft, light, and good for healing." Alari looked at the bowl, then back at him. "It does not taste like our food, but it is gentle. My body is calm. That is the goal." Ben said kindly, "We will go step by step." Alari finished half the bowl before placing it down. For someone who had been weak for weeks, it was a success. Queen Elia entered the room and smiled when she saw the half-empty bowl. "You are improving," the queen said with hope. "His food is helping," Alari answered. Ben bowed. "With time, we will try more, but only what her body accepts." Later that day, Ben returned to his room and wrote more notes. He carefully tracked each ingredient, the time it was served, and the princess's reaction. He also wrote a small sentence about her progress. "She spoke more today. Her voice is clear. Her hands are steady." In the evening, Ben was invited to the garden for tea. The queen wanted to thank him for his help. The garden was peaceful with soft music playing from glowing flowers. Princess Alari was already seated under a wide tree with glass leaves. She looked peaceful. Ben sat across from her. A Leoran server poured them tea made from sweet blue petals. It was light and calming. "You do not speak much," Alari said. "I only speak when needed," Ben replied. "That is rare. Most visitors talk a lot. I believe listening is important," Ben said. "Your body speaks in silence. I tried to understand it." Alari took a sip of her tea and looked at the trees. "You are not like others." Ben smiled gently. "Neither are you." They sat quietly for a while. The wind passed through the leaves, making soft sounds. A few small animals walked through the grass. The sky turned orange as the day ended. Ben stood up slowly. "I will return to the kitchen. I want to prepare something new for tomorrow." "You enjoy your work," Alari said. "Yes," Ben nodded. "Food is not just for the body. It is for the heart. In my world, people gather around food to share feelings, stories, and peace." Alari nodded. "We do not have such customs. We eat alone or in silence. But I think I like your way better. Ben looked at her and said softly, maybe we can try your first shared meal one day. Alari smiled faintly. It was the first time her smile felt easy and natural. That night, Ben stayed up preparing a light dessert. He used soft fruit from Leora and added a sweet earth plant called honeyleaf. He wanted to offer something new, something cheerful, but he also knew they had to move slowly. Her health was still fragile. He placed the dessert in a small glass bowl and kept it cool. Tomorrow would be another step. In her chamber, Alari sat with her mother. She told her quietly about the garden talk. The queen smiled and said, sometimes the best healers are those who speak through kindness. Alari nodded. She looked out at the stars above, for the first time in many nights. She did not feel afraid of sleep, and in another part of the palace, Ben sat by the window of his room. He looked up at the same stars. He did not know why, but he felt a new connection forming, not just through food, but through trust. A bond was beginning, and it had only just begun. The next few days on Leora passed in quiet peace. The sun rose with soft golden light, and the air in the palace garden smelled fresh and sweet. Inside the royal kitchen, Ben continued his work with care and patience. Each day, he prepared one new dish. Each meal was simple but thoughtful. He added only what was safe for Princess Alari's body. He mixed earth ingredients with Leoran fruits and herbs. He always tasted the food first and made notes in his journal. Princess Alari grew stronger every day. Her face had more color. Her voice became clear. She began to walk small steps inside her chamber with the help of a gentle cane. Her smiles became more frequent and her eyes brighter. Everyone in the palace saw the change and spoke of it with joy. The royal staff, once quiet and worried, now moved with lighter steps. The queen often placed her hand on Ben's shoulder in silent thanks. One morning, Alari called Ben to her garden. She sat near a small pond with silverfish. Her robe was light green and matched the colors of the leaves around her. You gave me food, she said softly, but you also gave me something else. Ben sat beside her on the soft grass. What do you mean? You gave me time. You listened. You spoke gently. That also helped me heal. Ben nodded. Food is one part of care. Heart is the other. Alari looked toward the pond. Would you show me how you prepare these meals? Ben smiled. Of course. I will ask for a table to be placed here. You can sit and watch while I cook. A few hours later, the royal helpers brought a cooking table to the garden. Ben brought his simple tools and clean bowls. He washed his hands, then placed a few ingredients in front of her. This is rice from earth, he said. It grows in water. We boil it until it is soft, then we add vegetables. He showed her how he cut the vegetables into small pieces. Alari watched with interest. The smell of the cooking food slowly filled the garden. Flowers seemed to lean toward the scent. Even the palace birds sat quietly nearby. When the dish was ready, Ben offered a small bite to Alari. She tasted it and smiled. This one is warm and a little sweet. It is a comfort food, Ben said. People on Earth eat it when they feel tired or sad. It helps them feel safe. I like that, Alari said. I want to learn more. So began a new daily routine. Every morning, Ben cooked a small meal in the garden, and Alari watched. Sometimes she helped stir the pot. Sometimes she passed him herbs, and every day, she tasted something new. She asked questions about Earth spices, about the way humans ate together, and about the places Ben had seen. Ben told her about farmers who worked early in the morning, markets full of colors and sounds, and families who sat around one table. Every evening, he spoke of street vendors, of food fairs, of people sharing laughter over small dishes. In my world, he said one afternoon, we believe food brings people together. Even strangers become friends when they eat together. Alari listened with wide eyes. That is very different from Leora. Here, most people eat alone, or in silence. Ben looked around at the peaceful garden. Your world is beautiful, but maybe a little warmth from Earth could add something new. Alari smiled. You are already doing that. One day, the queen herself joined them in the garden. She sat beside her daughter and watched the cooking with great interest. "I never thought I would see my daughter smile while eating again," she said with gentle pride. "She is a good student," Ben replied. "She is also strong." The queen said, "Many in her place would have lost hope. But she waited, and you came." Ben looked down for a moment. "I'm just one person, but I believe small efforts can make a big change. You're right," the queen said, "and I thank you." That evening, a message came from the royal chefs. They wanted to meet Ben. They had heard of his meals and the change in the princess. The next day, Ben visited the large palace kitchen. It was filled with shining tools and strange machines. The chefs, dressed in long silver robes, greeted him. With respect, one of them stepped forward. "We wish to learn. Teach us your way of cooking. We want to help the princess, and maybe we can serve others too." Ben smiled. "I will teach what I can. Cooking is not only about tools. It is about care." He began to show them how to boil rice, how to cut vegetables with patience, and how to combine flavors. He spoke of texture, smell, and timing. The Leoran chefs listened closely. They had never cooked with such feeling before. In the following days, new meals were served in the palace dining rooms. Dishes had both Earth and Leoran ingredients. People spoke more during meals. Smiles appeared around the tables. A soft change was spreading. Princess Alari now walked in the gardens without a cane. She laughed more. Her robes flowed behind her. Like light wind, she often stood beside Ben during mealtime, helping him serve others. She told stories about Earth food with joy. One afternoon, while sitting near the silver pond again, she turned to Ben and asked, "Do you miss your home?" Ben looked at the sky. "Sometimes, but helping you has become my purpose here." Alari placed her hand on his. "Then stay a little longer." Ben looked into her eyes and nodded. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, on a peaceful world, a small journey of flavors was building something more than health. It was building friendship, understanding, and something deep and kind. Each day on Leora felt brighter than before. The warm sun touched the palace with soft light, and the sound of laughter could now be heard from the gardens. The royal staff walked with joy, and the air around them was filled with new hope. It was not only because Princess Alari had healed. It was also because something special was growing between her and the human guest named Ben. Ben had become more than a visitor. He was now a welcome part of the royal home. The queen trusted him. The chefs learned from him, and Alari, once weak and silent, now walked with strength and spoke with light in her voice. One morning, Alari invited Ben to take a walk through the royal sky garden. It was a high open space above the palace, with hanging vines, floating plants, and long paths made of glowing stones. From there, they could see the wide lands of Leora blue forests, glassy rivers, and silver hills far in the distance. As they walked side by side, Alari said, "This garden is where I came when I needed to think. I used to come alone, but now I wish to share it with someone." Ben looked around and smiled. "It is peaceful. Thank you for bringing me here." They stopped under a tall tree with golden leaves. Small windbirds sat on the branches. Alari turned to Ben. "You gave me the taste of your world. Now I want to show you mine." She picked a fruit from the tree. It was round, with soft blue skin. She broke it open and offered half to Ben. "This is called a Silent," she said. "It is sweet at first, but then it becomes cool on the tongue." Ben took a small bite and paused. The taste was unlike anything he had tried before. First sweet, then light and cool, like water from a mountain spring. He smiled. "That is amazing," he said. "I have never tasted anything like it." Alari looked pleased. Now we have both shared something. Later that day, Ben prepared something new in the kitchen. He made small round cakes using earth flour and Leoran fruit paste. He mixed soft spices to give a warm smell. When he brought the dish to Alari, she laughed softly. "They are small like moons," she said. "They are called dumplings," Ben explained. "In my culture, they are often shared during family celebrations." Alari tasted one and smiled. "Then today, we celebrate life. News of the shared meals and growing friendship between the princess and the human began to spread. Across the kingdom, visitors from nearby cities came to the palace to learn about Earth cooking. The palace opened a small public space where Ben and the chefs cooked for guests. People from all classes and ranks sat together, tasting the new meals. For the first time in many years, Laorans from different places shared the same table. They spoke, laughed, and told stories while eating food that was both new and comforting. Children played nearby, and music filled the air. Ben watched from the side and felt something deep inside him. He had come to help one person, but now, many were touched by the change. He knew it was more than the food. It was the warmth that came with it. That evening, as the stars appeared in the sky, Alari and Ben sat by the large crystal fountain in the palace courtyard. The water moved in gentle waves, and soft lights floated above it. Alari looked at the sky and said, "When I was a child, I wanted to travel to other stars. But I never thought someone from another world would bring a piece of their home to me." Ben looked at her, "And I never thought I would be so welcome on a world so far from mine." Alari smiled and said, "Would you tell me more about Earth families?" Ben nodded. On Earth, many families eat together in the evening. They sit around a table, share food, and talk about their day. Sometimes, the food is simple, but it is the time spent together that makes it special. Alari listened carefully. "We do not have such habits. Meals here are quiet, often taken alone or in small groups. But I like your way." Ben looked thoughtful. "Maybe we could try it, a shared dinner. Your family, my cooking." Alari's eyes lit up. "Yes, let us do that." The next day, plans were made. The main dining room, which was usually quiet and formal, was changed. Long wooden tables were placed in the center. Soft cloths, handmade lights, and gentle music gave the room a warm feel. The queen, the council, and the royal staff were all invited. Ben prepared a special menu. He mixed earth dishes with Leoran spices. There were warm soups, soft rice plates, spiced breads, and fruit desserts. The palace chefs helped with joy. The kitchen was full of new energy. As the evening began, people took their seats. Alari sat beside her mother, and Ben sat across from them. Plates were passed, and conversation started. The room was filled with voices and laughter. Even the older council members smiled and shared kind words. The queen looked around and said, "This is new. This is beautiful." Alari turned to Ben and whispered, "This feels like your Earth story." Ben nodded, "And now it is part of Leora's story too." After the meal, Alari stood and spoke. Her voice was clear. "We often speak of unity between worlds, but today we lived it. With food, we shared joy. With kindness, we build trust. Let this not be the last time." The room filled with soft claps and bright eyes. That night, as the stars shined above, a new tradition was born. Every week, a shared meal would be held in the palace. Different dishes, different people, one table. And at the center of it all, a princess and a human who had started something greater than they had ever imagined. Peace and joy filled the halls of the Leoran Palace. Every week, the shared meal became more popular. People from nearby towns visited the palace to taste the new dishes and sit at the same table. With others, the smell of earth spices mixed with Leoran fruits became a part of daily life. Laughter echoed in places that were once quiet. Princess Alari was now fully healthy. She walked without help. She smiled easily and often. She helped in the kitchens, served food to guests, and even taught young children how to eat with kindness. Her bond with Ben had grown strong. They spent time together in the garden, in the cooking room, and even in the market outside the palace. But not everyone was happy with the changes. In a dark room deep inside the Royal Council building, a few older nobles met in secret. They wore long silver robes and spoke in low voices. Their leader was Lord Colin, an old noble who believed that outside ideas would destroy Leoran ways. "This human has brought strange customs," Lord Colin said. "He has changed the princess. He has changed the people. They no longer follow our ways." Another noble replied, "But the people are happy. The princess is healthy. Lord Colin shook his head. This is a trick. He weakens our traditions. If we let this continue, Earth will control us through kindness. The others looked unsure, but they were afraid to speak against him. Lord Colin stood and placed his hand on the table. We must act quietly. If the princess becomes sick again, the people will lose trust in the human. That night, while the palace slept, a quiet figure entered the royal kitchen. The lights were low, and the halls were empty. The figure moved quickly and placed the powder into a small jar of fruit spice. Then the figure disappeared into the shadows. The next morning, Ben began preparing breakfast for Princess Alari. He used rice, soft bread, and the fruit spice from the same jar. The smell was sweet, and the dish looked perfect. He placed it on a tray and brought it to the garden. Alari was waiting near the small pond. She smiled when she saw him and sat down to eat. She took a few bites and smiled. It tastes sweet today, she said. Ben smiled back. I thought you might like something lighter. But a few minutes later, Alari touched her stomach. Her face turned pale. She tried to speak, but her voice became weak. Ben stood up quickly and called for help. The queen and royal doctors arrived within minutes. Alari was taken to her room, and Ben stayed close by. His hands shook as he waited. His heart was heavy with fear. The doctors worked quietly. After some time, one of them stepped out and said, "She is stable now, but she became sick after eating." Ben looked shocked. I tasted the food. I used fresh ingredients. The doctor looked at him with a worried face. Some of the fruit spice was not safe. Ben could not understand. He had checked everything. How could this happen? Later, the queen called Ben into the council room. Her face was calm but serious. "Ben," she said, "I trust you, but the council wants answers. Can you tell us what happened?" Ben bowed. "I checked all the ingredients myself. I did not know how the spice was changed." Lord Colin stepped forward. "Perhaps this was a mistake, or perhaps the human methods are too risky for our people." Ben looked at him and said, "I came here to help, not to harm." The queen raised her hand. "Enough. We will search for the truth." Guards were sent to the kitchen. They tested the spice jars. They checked the storage rooms. At last, they found signs of the powder added during the night. It did not come from Earth. It was from a rare Lioran plant, one known to upset the stomach. The queen ordered a quiet investigation. After 3 days, they found the person who had entered the kitchen. It was a guard loyal to Lord Colin. The truth was clear now. The queen called the council again. Ben stood near the edge of the room. Alari sat beside her mother. Still weak but awake, Queen Elias stood and said, "This man from Earth saved my daughter's life. He gave us not only food, but a new way of sharing. Someone tried to break that peace, but truth has come to light." She looked at Lord Colin. "You spoke of tradition, but our traditions are built on respect and care, not fear." Lord Colin said nothing. The queen turned to Ben. "We thank you for your patience, your service, and your kindness. You are welcome here always." Ben bowed deeply. "I only wish for peace." After the meeting, Alari met Ben in the garden. Her steps were slow, but her smile was warm. "I knew it was not your fault," she said. "I was afraid." Ben said, "Afraid to lose what we built." "You did not lose it," Alari replied. "You proved your heart again. That is stronger than fear." They sat by the pond in silence for a while. Then Alari said, "When I was sick again, I realized something. It was not just the food that helped me. It was you." Ben looked at her. "And I realized I cannot go back to my world without missing this one." Alari placed her hand over his. "Then stay, not just as a guest, but as someone who belongs." Ben nodded. "I will stay." That night, the stars above Liora shined brighter than before. The winds were calm. The kitchens were busy again. The people talked with joy, and in the heart of the palace, a new promise was born, strong like the bond between two souls from different worlds. The sun rose over the shining towers of Liora. Birds with bright wings flew across the sky. The city looked peaceful again. People were busy in markets, gardens, and kitchens. The smell of earth spices and Leoran fruits filled the air. Inside the palace, Princess Alari walked with a calm smile. Her health had returned. Her energy was back. She wore a light green dress made from Leoran silk, and her hair was tied with golden ribbons. Her steps were full of grace. Ben walked beside her, holding a tray of small round snacks made with rice, herbs, and honey. He had given them a new name in Leoran language. People called them Joy Bites because they made everyone smile after. One bite. Are you sure that people will like them? Ben asked as they reached the garden. They already love your food, Alari said. But today is more than just food. Today is about trust. The queen had announced a grand festival in the heart of Leora. It would be the first festival of unity. People from all regions were invited. The goal was simple: to celebrate kindness, healing, and the peaceful bond between two worlds. Ben helped prepare the special menu. He worked side by side with the royal chefs. He taught them how to cook earth dishes with local ingredients. In return, they showed him how to mix Leoran flavors in gentle ways. The kitchens were filled with music, steam, and laughter. The festival started at midday. Colorful flags waved from the buildings. Long tables were set up in the great garden. Every dish was made with care. There were spiced rice rolls, fruit leaf wraps, honey breads, and soft cakes filled with cream. Children ran around with bright face paint. Musicians played joyful tunes. People danced slowly, then faster. As the sky turned golden, Princess Alari stood on a raised platform beside her mother and Ben. She spoke to the crowd with a clear and kind voice. Today we stand together, not as different kinds, but as one heart. This peace is not made with weapons or rules. It is made with hands that cook, voices that share, and hearts that care. The crowd clapped and cheered. Ben smiled and looked out at the sea of happy faces. For the first time, he felt truly at home. Later in the evening, Ben walked through the garden, carrying a basket of warm flatbread. People waved at him. Some asked for more food. Others asked for stories from Earth. He sat with children and told them how people on Earth celebrated birthdays, made pancakes, and gave flowers to say thank you. Suddenly, a young Leoran boy tugged at Ben's arm. Can you come quickly? The boy asked. A man is trying to cook something strange near the fountain. Ben followed the boy. Near the great fountain, an old man was stirring a pot over a small fire. He wore simple clothes, and his hands shook as he worked. A few people watched from a distance. Ben stepped closer and smiled. Hello. Do you need help? The old man looked up. His eyes were soft. I'm trying to make a dish my mother used to cook, but I do not remember the taste. Ben sat beside him. Tell me what you do remember. The old man closed his eyes. She used ground seeds, red fruit paste, and soft green herbs. It smelled like home. Ben thought for a moment. He reached into his basket and took out a jar of red paste he had made earlier. Then he added a few drops of sweet oil and sprinkled crushed green herbs. Try this, Ben said. The old man tasted it. His eyes filled with tears. This is it. This is the taste. Ben nodded. Then your mother's memory is still here. The old man smiled and shared the dish with those around him. A small group gathered. The smell brought more people, and soon, a circle of strangers sat together, eating and talking. Back on the platform, Queen Elia watched from afar. She spoke softly to Alari. This human has done more than save you. He has healed our people. He reminds us that peace does not need to be forced. It only needs to be shared. Alari looked at her mother with respect. He never asked for power, only for a place to belong. As night came, the sky turned deep blue. Stars appeared one by one. Lanterns floated in the air, glowing with soft, yellow light. A large table was set in the center of the garden. On it were dishes from both worlds, placed side by side. Ben and Alari stood at the head of the table. The people waited silently. Ben raised his hand. This table is not just for food. It is for stories, for listening, for understanding, Alari added, and for hope. Hope that no matter where we come from, we can still share one heart. Everyone sat, Leorans and Earth guests, Nobles and workers, young and old, they passed plates, poured drinks, and laughed together. The garden became a place of light and warmth. As the night deepened, a group of dancers performed in the center. Their movements told the story of a princess who had fallen into darkness, but found her way back through kindness. At the end of the dance, the princess held hands with a man from another world. The crowd clapped with joy. Tears filled many eyes. It was not just a performance, it was their story. Ben looked at Alari. Her eyes glowed with peace. This is your home now, she whispered. Ben took her hand. It always was. I just didn't know it yet. The stars shined brighter above them. The music played softly, and in the heart of Leora, a new story began. A story not written in books, but in meals shared, smiles exchanged, and hands held under the light of unity. The festival of unity had passed, but its joy still lived in the hearts of the people. Every corner of Leora felt lighter, warmer, and more open. Songs from the night still echoed in the streets. The bond between humans and Leorans had grown strong, and much of the credit belonged to one human who had come from far away. Ben. Inside the palace, soft sunlight filled the royal garden. Birds sang gently as Princess Alari walked along the stone path. Her steps were quiet, but her heart beat fast. She had been thinking about something for many days now, something that made her feel nervous, confused, and happy all at the same time. Ben stood near the water fountain, feeding crumbs to small winged creatures. He wore a plain blue tunic with a leaf pin gifted by the palace guards. When he saw Alari, he smiled. You look like you've been walking in circles, Ben said kindly. Alari laughed softly. Maybe I have. They sat down on a bench beneath a blooming tree. The petals fell like soft snow round them. For a few minutes, they said nothing. They just watched the garden, the clear sky, and the gentle world they had helped shape. Alari finally spoke. Do you ever miss Earth? Ben thought for a moment. Sometimes. I miss the smell of rain, the sound of city streets, and my little sister's voice when she told silly stories. Why did you choose to stay? She asked. Ben looked into her eyes. Because something here feels like home. It's not just the food or the people. It's the way you made me feel welcome, even when I was a stranger. Alari looked down at her hands. There's something I want to ask you, but I don't know how. Ben smiled gently. Then let me go first. He stood up, reached into his pocket, and took out a simple silver ring. It was made from Leoran moon metal and shaped like two leaves joined together. I asked the queen for her blessing, he said. I also asked the elders if a human could make such a request. They said yes, but only if it comes from the heart. Alari looked at the ring, her eyes wide. You're choosing me as your life partner? She asked in shock. Ben nodded. Only if you say yes. She stood in silence. The wind played with her hair. Her heart felt like it would leap out of her chest. I never imagined this, she whispered. A human, standing here, asking me this question. I never imagined I'd fall in love with someone from another world, Ben said. Alari took a step forward. Her voice was soft, but clear. You brought back joy to my people. You helped me recover. You shared your food, your stories, and your heart. I don't just accept. I feel honored. Ben placed the ring on her finger. She held his hands round them. The flowers seemed to bloom brighter. A voice called from behind. It was Queen Elia. She walked toward them, holding a long cloth with royal symbols. I see the future is brighter. Then I hoped, she said. Alari blushed. Mother, he asked me, and I said yes. The queen smiled with grace. Then it is time to prepare for the joining ceremony. Word spread across Leora quickly. The princess and the human would be united. In a ceremony of light, it would be held under the twin moons, where the stars were brightest. The people worked together to prepare. Decorations filled the city. Music groups practiced. Bakers made sweet treats shaped like stars and flowers. Cloth makers wove patterns. With both Earth and Leoran symbols, the day of the ceremony arrived. Ben wore a robe made from Earth cotton and Leoran silk. Alari wore a dress that shimmered like the night sky. Her crown was light, shaped like a new leaf. They stood in the royal garden, under the Arch of Unity. The crowd was quiet. listening to the voice of the elder speaker. Today, the elder said, "Two hearts from distant worlds become one. This is not only a bond of love, but a promise of peace." Ben took Alari's hand. He spoke slowly. "I promise to stand by your side through calm days and storms. I will share your joys and carry your worries. I will learn from your world and give the best of mine." Alari smiled and replied, "I promise to walk with you wherever the path leads. I will protect your hopes and believe in your dreams. I will love you as one heart loves another." The elder placed a glowing band around their hands by the light of the stars. "In the voice of your hearts, you are now joined." The crowd cheered. Music began. Flowers were tossed into the air. Children danced with ribbons, dishes from earth, and Leora filled the tables. The celebration had begun. As the evening turned into night, Ben and Alari stood on the palace balcony. Below them, people laughed, danced, and sang. "Do you think our worlds will always be this close?" Alari asked. Ben wrapped an arm around her shoulder. "If kindness stays in our hearts, nothing can break the bond we started." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You didn't just change my life," she whispered. "You changed our world." The stars sparkled above them. Two moons lit the sky with silver light. And in that moment, the story of a human and an alien princess became a legend told across galaxies, a tale of hope, friendship, and love that crossed the stars.